are not just sheep.
Hadaf Soueif, with us from Cairo, the acclaimed Egyptian novelist. Did you know of these videos? And what about the concern that is continually being raised by commentators in the United States that what this could lead to if Mubarak leaves is a fundamentalist government like that in Iran?
This is completely untrue. This is Egypt, not Iran. And Amy, if you saw the square, the Muslim Brotherhood are there. And I would say they're about 7 to 10% of the people who are there. And they are being completely open and completely inclusive and completely accepting. They are part of the texture of Egyptian society. And for us to have true democracy, we the seculars, the leftists, we need to accept them as well as insisting that they accept us. And that is what we want, and that is what is happening on the square now. I had a little, there was this, obviously Brotherhood chap sitting next to me, and he had a beard, and he had a wife in a full veil, and he was talking to her about how he had wanted to pray, and he'd given a bottle of water to a passerby and said, could he pour it for him so he could wash? And that passerby turned out to be Christian, and they embraced, and this is Egypt. Now, whether this story happened or not, it was the story that he wanted to tell. And that is very significant. And then he sort of saw me looking at him, and he said, you're looking at me because of my beard. You know what? He laughed. I wasn't born with a beard. I just couldn't afford the price of a razor. When this regime goes, I can buy as many razors as I like. That's the kind of humor and the spirit that's in the square. And all the young women are saying, and we can all feel it, that there is no harassment whatsoever. And I really think that all the young men who've been using their machismo in harassing women have now found the proper channel for it, and everybody's kind of reveling in being the best that they can be, and it is totally wonderful. But what's happening, Amy, and I want to tell you this, before before you have enough of me, as it were, is that the weapons that the regime is using now is to actually go completely against this by spreading rumors that it is foreign agencies who are making all this happen, that they are blaming the Islamists, they're blaming Hamas in Gaza, they're blaming Hezbollah, they're blaming Israel, they're even blaming America. They're saying people are getting meals of Kentucky Fried Chicken in the square, just anything apart from Egyptians. And they're starting to really use, of course, they have all the state media at their disposal, Egyptian television, radio, and so on, and they are sending out an incredibly dangerous and divisive message. They are telling people that the foreigners in their midst are agents. And I've just come down from my apartment, and I'm actually talking to you sitting in my car in the garage because I'm not planning to sleep at home tonight, because I had an Indian TV crew come to do an interview with me. They'd been told that they couldn't film in their hotel, and they phoned. I didn't know this. They phoned me. They said, could they come to my home instead? And I said, sure. And they came to my home, two women and a man with their cameras and everything, and they came upstairs, and they were followed by the daughter of the super. And she said to me, who are these people? And I said, what do you mean? They're my guests. And she said, are they journalists? Are they media? What are they? Because they're foreign. And when I kind of looked like I couldn't believe what she was saying, she said the Secret Service has been around all the apartment buildings. They've been asking who's been living there. They've been asking about foreigners. They've been asking about Palestinians. And we have orders to report to them if any media or any foreign people are in these apartments. So I said, look, they're my friends. They're not staying long. And in fact, I kept them, and I left the apartment with them. The super's daughter was apologetic. She said, we have to follow orders. We have to, it's no problem. You can have them stay in your apartment, but I would just have to tell the Secret Service. And so, in fact, I have decided not to sleep at home tonight. And this is like our family home. This is where we came to live when I was 7 years old. And it is, I just never thought that they would do this. That this regime will actually set the country against each other and tear it apart before they will do the decent thing and leave.
Hadef Soueif, thank you so much for being with us, speaking to us from Cairo, just back from Tahrir Square, and we hope to have you on with us on Monday as well, when we resume the weekday broadcasts of Democracy Now!, the acclaimed Egyptian novelist. Thank you so much for being with us. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. Thousands more viewers have joined us at democracynow.org, and again, welcome to all the television and radio and satellite TV viewers and listeners. When we come back, we're going to talk about the significance of this for the overall Middle East. This is Democracy Now!, back in a minute. On the banks of the Nile, Riyad Abdelgawad. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. Uprising in Egypt, our special 2-hour broadcast welcoming all the viewers, listeners to democracynow.org and all the stations, networks, TV, radio that are viewing right now. Tell your friends, go on Facebook, tweet this broadcast as we try to bring you voices on the ground and reaction from around the world. The latest news we have at this point, we've been getting all sorts of news about whether President Hosni Mubarak has resigned as head of the party, not as president, but the latest news is he has not even done that yet. Also General Hassan al-Rawani, the head of the Army Central Command, spoke to the masses at Tahrir Square a few hours ago, telling them to leave the square as they respond, "We are not leaving. He is leaving. We are not leaving. He is leaving." We are getting hundreds of comments at Facebook, and one of those comments I want to put to our guest, Rashid Khalidi, the professor of Arab Studies at Columbia University. It's a question from William Metzger-Ophel, who asks, quote, "Has anyone made the connection with Senator McCain's comment about the pro-democracy movement in the region being a virus that must be countered, and Henry Kissinger's remark 40 years earlier regarding Salvador Allende's as a virus that might infect others?" Of course, Salvador Allende died in the palace September 11, 1973, when the U.S. backed, Kissinger-backed, Augusto Pinochet forces rose to power. That's Salvador Allende's Chile.
I don't know of anyone who's made that connection except one of your watchers, listeners, and it's a very shrewd point. But it's exactly the same mindset. This is a sense that if there's not an American-imposed stability operating through dictators and autocrats whom the United States props up and protects, then all hell will break loose. Obviously, that is an anti-democratic sentiment, and it goes against, I think, the wishes of the American people. But it's one that the security managers and people like Kissinger, of course, made the basis of American policy for many decades. And unfortunately, it is still the basis of American policy. They are trying to transition in a managed fashion to a security regime light that might allow some freedoms, but will maintain the essence of the police state that has ruled Egypt for many, many decades, since before Mubarak. And that, I think, is what we should be looking at. Not just whether there are some trappings of democracy, but whether this deep-rooted police state that Hadef told us about, where they come to everybody's house, where they are watching everything, whether that is dismantled and brought under control.
You have family in both Cairo and in Palestine.
And in Alexandria, for that matter, yes.
And what's happening in Alexandria?
Well, Alexandria, there's a much larger proportionally protest movement than in Cairo. In Cairo, it's vast, but in Alexandria, it is an enormous part of the population, and the security forces are somewhat less in control, or were somewhat less in control. The situation is the same in much of the country, apparently. I mean, I hear a little bit about Alexandria from my cousins there, but I hear a lot from Cairo from my mother-in-law and others, and people are torn. They are listening sometimes to state media, and as people have reported on this show, it is putting out a poisonous message. I mean, I watch Egyptian Satellite Channel here in New York. It is absolutely vicious, the lowest form of propaganda, and some people are unfortunately affected by it.
Al Jazeera's online producer in Cairo is reporting the army's no longer negotiating to remove the protesters out of Tahrir Square. The army still present around the square. Protesters continue to rally in the square in the cold and